Good morning to one and all present here. It is my pleasure to extend a cheerful welcome to you all. On behalf of the President of Children's Education Society and Chairman of Oxford Educational Institutions, Management, Principal, Director, Staff and students of the Oxford College of Engineering, I, Dr. K. Valanmati from Department of Biotechnology, the Oxford College of Engineering, deem it a great pleasure and privilege in welcoming you all to the AICTE sponsored 2 weeks faculty development program on bioinnovation, patenting, and entrepreneurship opportunities in biotechnology for sustainable environment from 8th to 20th March 2021. There are no words which can convey our awe and respect for late Sri Narasaraju Garu, the founder. He formed Children's Education Society in 1974, under which the Oxford Group of Institutions established. We would like to start this event in his remembrance. It is our tradition to seek the blessings of Almighty before the start of any auspicious event. So let us start the event with an invocation song.
एकदन्तं शूर्पकर्णं गजवक्त्रं चतुर्भुजं पाशाङ्कुशधरं देवं ध्यायेत् सिद्धिविनायकम् उत्तमं गणनाथस्य व्रतं संवत्करं शुभं भक्त्याभीष्टप्रदं तस्मात् ध्यायेत्तं विघ्ननायकम् ध्यायेत्तं विघ्ननायकम्.
With high respect, I introduce the visionary educationist, late Nitishri S. Narasaraju Garu, the founder of Children's Education Society. forever and pray for His blessings in all our endeavors. Vidya Sharvatra Shobhate. The Oxford Educational Institutions, established in the year 1974 under the aegis of Children's Education Society, has proved a beacon to all knowledge seekers not only within our country but also globally. It made a humble beginning with 24 students and 2 teachers. During the last 4 decades, the Oxford Group has seen exponential growth under the guidance and leadership of its president, Sri SNBL Narasimha Raju Garu.
The Oxford Educational Institutions Bangalore offers diploma, UG and PG courses in dental, engineering, nursing, pharmacy, physiotherapy, business management, commerce, computer application, hotel management, life sciences, electronics, chemistry, mathematics, statistics, fashion and apparel technology and management, journalism, 5 years LLB, and PUC in science, arts and commerce. Contact
Biotechnology engineering is a multidisciplinary having application in multiple fields including healthcare, agriculture, food industry and environmental issues. It has encompassed all the fields of life and technology and is currently a multi-billion enterprise. This rapidly advancing branch was initiated in our college in the year 2003. Since then, the department is growing vertically in terms of academics, research, co-curricular and extracurricular activities, facilitating the all-round growth of students. The department is permanently affiliated to BTU and has been accredited by National Board of Accreditation and NAAC. The department has bagged ranks in both UG and PG programs. The department has excellent infrastructure involving well-maintained classrooms and highly equipped laboratories which are designed for today's technological challenges. The department is doing outstanding research work in BTU approved Research and Development Center. The department has established unique research facilities, namely Center for Natural Product Research with financial assistance from BTU, AICTE New Delhi and DAE BRNS DRDO New Delhi, and Center for Computational Medicinal Chemistry in Drug Discovery with financial assistance from Mission Group of Science and Technology, Government of Karnataka, and Center for Bioremediation with financial assistance from Naval Research Board DRDO New Delhi and DBT BIRAC New Delhi. In this R&D centers, several funded research projects have already been conducted and continuing. Research grants have been received from various national and state government funding agencies like DBT, BIRAC, DRDO, NRB, DAE, PRNS, AICTE, BGST, KFIST, BTU, KSCST, and NIF. These projects are instrumental in strengthening our core research activities, which are beneficial to both students and staff. They have also generated sufficient amounts of funds to equip our department with necessary instrumentation and other requirements. Highly qualified and seasoned faculties who are capable of nurturing the overall growth of students are also actively involved in conducting various programs and activities in the department. The department is proud to state that a domestic patent is filed and a bioremediation product Petrosap is developed to address the bioremediation of hydrocarbons and oil spill with financial assistance under IRAC.
We are proud to state that the Department of Biotechnology in the Oxford College of Engineering is well known for its achievements in research and development. The department has well-established R&D center with a total grant of rupees 1.5 crores from various funding agencies. To the credit, the department has one Indian patent and applied for three more. I, Salma, Assistant Professor in the Department of Biotechnology, herewith would give you an overview of R&D in the department. In the year 2008, the department first received rupees 1 lakh as research grant from National Innovation Foundation for the validation of ethnic medicinal plants. With this collaboration, we have since received a grant of rupees 18 lakh till date. Then it received rupees 9 lakhs from UTU to study the actinomycetes diversity in Western Ghats. As an outcome, we have 342 actinomycetes isolates as deposits in the department R&D, of which 206 have potent bioactive compound production ability. Year 2012, BAE BRNS sanctioned rupees 21 lakhs to develop herbal radioprotectants in collaboration with Bharat Mumbai. Navy Research Board Material Payment has sanctioned rupees 23 lakhs to develop bioremediation kits, oil spill in the year 2030. The work was successfully completed and taken further for product development. Under the financial assistance of rupees 40 lakhs from BIRAC under PAID scheme, we are proud to state that the product Petrozap is developed and patented which degrades hydrocarbons efficiently. The department has developed high-end upstream laboratory facilities under the financial assistance of AICTE MODROC. The department also supports research on natural products, medicinal chemistry, and drug discovery domains in the Center for Computational Medicinal Chemistry Lab. In drug discovery, set up with the financial assistance of rupees 20 lakhs from VGST under KFIST grant. We are proud to state that Dr. B.K. Manjunath was instrumental in bringing the project grants to the department. In conclusion, I would like to say that we are open for infrastructure sharing, mentoring, consultancy, and collaboration with academic institutions and industry. We are looking forward for joint ventures in product development, incubation, and startups. Thank you.
No thief, however skillful, can rob one of knowledge. And that is why knowledge is the best and safest treasure to acquire. It gives me immense pleasure in introducing our respected President of Children's Education Society and Chairman of Oxford Educational Institutions, Sri SNVL Narasimha Raju Garu. A good leadership and well-coordinated team are the key to success. We have an excellent leader in our chairman, Sri SNVL Narasimha Raju Garu. He is responsible for the technological growth of the institutions and state-of-art facilities. The Oxford educational institutions have greatly benefited from his novel ideas and dynamic leadership. He always takes keen interest in the development and welfare of faculties and students. On behalf of the director, principal, staff, and students of the Oxford College of Engineering, I extend a very warm welcome to our chairman, Sri SNVL Narasimha Raju Garu. Guests are treated on par with par. At the outset, I welcome today's chief guest, Dr. Jitendra Kumar, Managing Director, Bangalore Bioinnovation Center, Bangalore. Dr. Kumar holds a PhD degree in biotechnology from Institute of Microbial Technology, Chandigarh, a prestigious national laboratory affiliated to Jawaharlal Nehru University, New Delhi. Subsequently, he moved to University of Illinois at Chicago, where he worked on leukemia. In the next stint as a postdoc at Ohio State University, Columbus, Ohio, USA, he worked on various cutting-edge research projects related to chromatin model remodeling, mitochondrial phospholipids, its role in apoptosis and role of peroxidase in including mitochondrial dysfunction in heart, liver, and brain. He is the author on several internationally acclaimed peer-reviewed papers. He holds a MBA degree from prestigious Fisher College of Business at Ohio State University. He also led a team from Ohio State University to conduct International Entrepreneurship Challenge 2008 organized by Materials Research Society. After returning from US, he joined as the president of Life Science Incubator at IKP Knowledge Park, Hyderabad, where he was involved in actively mentoring incubating companies, creating a pipeline of entrepreneurs through innovative models of team building around the technologies, working with public R&D laboratories and universities to create entrepreneurial models of commercialization. He bought many government grants and created a world-class center for translational research in life sciences at IKP Knowledge Park. As the director and head of BBC, his current focus is on incubating innovations in agriculture, food and nutrition, biofuel, bioenergy, and pharma healthcare. He is working closely with Karnataka Biotechnology and Information Technology Services, KBITS, Department of IT, BT, and SNT, Government of Karnataka, to create a vibrant life sciences innovation cluster in Bangalore. I, on behalf of our chairman, principal, HOD, faculties, and students of the Department of Biotechnology, extend to you a very warm and cordial welcome, sir. Be an opener of doors for such as come after me. It gives us immense pleasure to have today's guest of honor, Dr. Rishikesh Damle, MD and CEO, Atrimed Pharmaceuticals, Trustee, Save a Mother Foundation, Atrimed Healthcare Foundation, Mentor, Atrimed Biotech. Dr. Rishikesh Damle is a trained Ayurvedic physician with postgraduate degrees in plant pharmacology and clinical pharmacology. Dr. Rishikesh Damle is a self-learner and an original thinker and very passionate about science. He quit his well-paying job to pursue his dream of new drug discovery from plant molecules. A team of bright scientists integrated advanced computing with an embedded AI system to cull knowledge from ancient medical practices to modern science and to world-class lab dedicated to avant-garde and science-based medical innovations. His intuitive leadership, great management skills, and entrepreneurship laced with professionalism has taken Atrimed across the globe. Sir has BAMS degree with a gold medal from Ayurveda College, Coimbatore, and MD in Dravya Guna and Pharmacology from Bangalore Ayurvedic Medical College and PG training program, clinical pharmacology at GS Medical College and KEM Hospital, Mumbai. His professional brief includes worked as a senior manager at Reliance Health and Technology, Bangalore, worked as a consultant at Bevel KGF, established Kottakkal Arya Vaidya Sala Agency at Vijayanagar, Bangalore, and practiced as a consultant physician from 1997 to 2022, and established Atrimed Pharmaceuticals Private Limited as a promoter director in 2003. Since then, working as a MD and CEO, till date, worked as a visiting faculty, National Law School of University Bangalore, and worked as a visiting faculty at Institute of Clinical Research India, established Atrimed Biotech in 2016. His research interests include published a paper on nephrotic syndrome in an international journal, published several write-ups on medicine and pharmaceutical industry in various Indian journals, conducted workshops on clinical research in herbal medicine, presented several papers in seminars on research in herbal medicine, and currently conducting molecular separation and bioassays at Adrimet Biotech, and his establishments include Kotakal Arya Vaidyasala Agency, Vijayanagar, Bangalore, and he is the proprietor for Adrimet Pharmaceutical Private Limited, Bangalore, and MD for Adrimet Health Consultants Private Limited, Bangalore, and MD for Adrimet Biotech LLP, and partner for Adrimet Healthcare Foundation, and it's a non-profit organization, and trustee for Seva Mother Foundation, Bangalore, and trustee for Gold Fall Season Private Limited, Bangalore, and director for Stream of Joy Resort, Arasinamaki, South Kannada, and goes on. I, on behalf of our chairman, principal, HOD, and faculties and students of the Department of Biotechnology, extend to you a very warm and cordial welcome, sir. I, on behalf of director, principal, staff, and students of the Oxford College of Engineering, extend a very hearty welcome to our keynote speaker, Dr. Ramaswamy Rajesh Kumar, Professor, College of Agriculture and Biotechnology, Zhejiang University, China. I would also like to extend a warm welcome to our knowledge partners, Srimati Prabhavati Rao, Facilitator, Intellectual Property Initiatives and Geographical Indication Cell, Vishwesharaya Trade Promotion Center, Government of Karnataka, Center for Export Promotion, Department of Industries and Commerce, Bengaluru, and to Mr. Hemant Kumar, Secretary, Karnataka State Council for Science and Technology, Mr. Vivek Sagar, consultant from KSCST, and Dr. Mary and Ms. Ankita from Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. It's easy to make a buck and it's a lot tougher to make a difference. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome our director, Dr. Amarnath K. He is a multifaceted personality, an eminent academician, and an able administrator. He is currently the director of the Oxford Educational Institutions. I would like to take this opportunity to express our hearty welcome to our beloved director, Dr. Amarnath. We are proud to welcome all the eminent speakers from various research laboratories, industries, universities, and entrepreneurs from all over India. Give me a fish and I eat for a day. Teach me to fish and I eat for a lifetime. We are really very fortunate to have Dr. B.K. Manjunath as our HOD. Just as lighthouse guides the ships to the safest shore, our HOD always has been the lighthouse of knowledge and guidance, because of which we are what we are. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome our beloved HOD, Dr. B.K. Manjunath, Professor and Head Department of Biotechnology, and also the convener for 2 weeks ACT sponsored FDP. A very warm and hearty welcome, sir. A special and warm welcome to all the participants from all over India to this occasion, which is for you all. Hearty welcome to management representatives, HODs, and faculties from various departments. Last but not least, a heartfelt welcome to my dear colleagues. Once again, I wish to extend my hearty welcome to everyone who is present at this function and everyone for enabling us to organize this function. Thank you. I now request our director, Dr. Amarnath K, to address the gathering.
Good morning. Welcome to the Oxford College of Engineering. Department of Biotechnology is organizing 2-week faculty development program on bio-innovation, patenting and entrepreneurship opportunities in biotechnology for sustainable environment. This is a program sponsored by AICT New Delhi. I heartily welcome all the participants to this and fully involved in the FDP program and become a good entrepreneurs in future. FDPs are very important to raise our level to international standards. In that aim, the college biotechnology department is organizing such events. I wish all the best for the participant and I congratulate the biotechnology department, in particular Dr. Manjunath and their team, and I wish all the success for them. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Now I invite Dr. B.K. Manjunath, Professor and Head, Department of Biotechnology and Dean Research, to speak few words about AICTE's sponsored 2 weeks faculty development program on bioinnovation, patenting, and entrepreneurship opportunities in biotechnology for a sustainable environment.
Good morning to one and all present here. Before starting the event, I would like to convey my happy Women's Day to all the women who are directly or indirectly involved in organizing this event and also powering the men. Without the power of women, men are nothing. So I convey my best wishes to all the women participants and organizers and all the women participating in this event. Thank you for rising the event to this level, and it gives us an immense pleasure in inviting you people to the phase 2 FDP organized by Department of Biotechnology and with financial assistance from AICTE New Delhi. In the first phase, we were concentrating on the different aspects of innovations that helps us creating a new product and various strategies that has to be followed in protecting our innovative ideas with the kind assistance of VTPC and KSCST. And this time we are concentrating more on converting your idea into an incubation and entrepreneurship. Okay, and we are trying to give you an overall view of further patent and further processing of your innovation. And we are thankful to Bangalore Bioinnovation Center for extending their kind support in organizing this event by providing eminent speakers. And we are also introducing you to the few successful entrepreneurs who made their journey in entrepreneurship successful. So we will be hosting you many sessions, around 36 sessions we'll be hosting in this phase 2, and we'll be introducing you to the eminent speakers from across the country, and many successful startups will give you a bit of ideas what makes you to become successful. And hope this journey will help you in fine-tuning your knowledge and innovating more and more products and making our India Atmanirbhar Bharat. Thank you very much.
Now I invite our chief guest, Dr. Jitendra Kumar, to speak few words about our FDP.
Honorable President and Chairman Shri Narasimha Raju Garu, Oxford Educational Institutions, guest of honor Dr. Rishikesh Damle. He has been one of the brightest startup companies in our Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. He has been inspiring many of the startups here. Director Dr. Amarnath, Dr. Manjunath, the HOD of Biotechnology, all the faculty members of educational institution, Oxford Engineering College, students, and all the participants of this faculty development program in bioinnovation, patenting, and entrepreneurship opportunities in biotechnology for sustainable environment. Let me congratulate this institution for organizing this faculty development program. I think it's very, very relevant. And I'm very glad that institutions like Oxford College of Engineering have taken lead in developing and in conducting such programs. As a matter of fact, what has happened in our country is that the educational institutions, the research institutions, have only concentrated on training, giving degrees, and to some extent maybe publications. But the knowledge creation leading to the patents, product development, which can help solve the societal problems, which can help solve the pain points, has not been in the forefront of the agenda of education institutions and research institutions. However, I think recent times, this has changed. A lot of emphasis is being given to creating innovations, to nurture entrepreneurship, to creating patents and commercializing it, etc. In the inaugural session, a few videos were shown about Oxford University, or Oxford College of Engineering, and I was very impressed with the kind of research that private institutions like this are taking interest in. I think there are all the ingredients of success ingrained in the Oxford College of Engineering. You know, I get reminded of institutions like Harvard University, which is also a private university. What they have done is they have attracted the best talents across the country, across the world. They have nurtured these talents. They have given them freedom, and the result you all can see how this Harvard University has become one of the beacons of innovation, not only publication but research, but also technology, entrepreneurship, and commercialization. In fact, I had a chance to stay in US for a long time. What I observed there was that educational universities are the universe in itself, which have great R&D programs, which has management program, which has all the ecosystem incubation centers within the university itself. So what happens is there is an institutional mechanism of venture creation created within these institutions, meaning that the R&D which is done, which has been patented, does not lie on shelf for a long time. It gets commercialized. How? Either it is commercialized through a classical technology licensing to the big industry. But more importantly, I have seen that many of these patents and research outcomes have been taken up by entrepreneurs. None other than faculty themselves and the students. They take up these patents, they commercialize it through entrepreneurial means. How this has happened? We have to get into the good governing structure of the institutions. Like, say, for example, in Harvard University, there's something called, freedom to the first right of refusal. The first right of refusal is given to the faculty who invented or who is an inventor, meaning that first he has to be given the chance to license that technology and then commercialize it. If in case he refuses, then only it is open for others to take up this. The implications of this is very deep and wide, meaning that if he is the inventor and he has been given the first right of refusal, meaning that lot of power, a lot of delegation, lot of trust, lot of partnership is given to the faculty members of these institutions. No doubt the patents are held by the university who funded it, but the faculty who invented has been given a lot of importance, meaning that they have the first right of refusal. And then the structure of the licensing agreement in such a way is that they don't have to pay huge upfront fees. So with this Harvard example, I wanted to just give a glimpse of what can be done in institutions like Oxford University, Oxford College of Engineering, or sister institutions. You have to give that trust and freedom to the faculty, and I'm sure that they will outshine. They will shine. They will breed the next level of leaders in entrepreneurship as well as faculty. Now, the one question you may have is why all the faculty have to take up entrepreneurship? No, not it. You have to see from a different angle. You can be a catalyst for that entrepreneurship, and you may not be in the management of that unit that is set up, meaning that you can be the scientific advisor to that, and then student or whoever takes up that entrepreneurship should lead it, and then you can be the faculty or the scientific advisor. There has to be a good level of understanding between the university management or college management and the faculty, so that the agreements are well defined. When the faculty joins the institution, they know that they have this opportunity for entrepreneurship and all. The faculty development program that you have designed in bioinnovation, patenting and entrepreneurship opportunities is extremely timely, extremely well thought out. And I congratulate you once again for this wonderful program. I would like to give my best wishes for this program. I would also like to offer any help from Bangalore Bioinnovation Center, which is trying to create a robust innovation ecosystem in Bangalore, in Karnataka, and in India. In fact, one of the mandates from the state of Karnataka to Bangalore Bioinnovation Center is to go to every institutions, every academic institutions located within Karnataka, and encourage them to set up entrepreneurship development cell or incubation center, and give boot camps or training programs, or provide training programs to the faculty, to the students, etc. So with this, I am very glad to participate in this program. I am very glad to offer any help. I am also very, very excited to see that many of the students at Oxford College of Engineering has shown a keen interest in entrepreneurship. I think they have visited Bangalore Bioinnovation Center also. And these bright minds, I'm very hopeful that the next era of entrepreneurship would be a wonderful, great journey for us. With these few words, thank you so much. And I again thank the management, principal, and all the faculty members of Oxford College of Engineering to give me this honor to be the chief guest. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir, for the motivational words and acknowledging our work, and for the willingness to render your helping hands to improve our research and our students' projects and all. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your motivational words. Now I may request our today's guest of honor, Dr. Rishikesh Damle, to address the gathering.
Thank you very much, respected Chairman, HOD, faculty members, and all those who are here to participate in this consortium. At the outset, I would like to congratulate the organization for starting a program like this, which is of very much important. And Dr. we call him JK. Jitendra Kumar ji has already given a brief about the importance of entrepreneurship and what are the kind of how the journey is going to be and how institutions can help, because he is a real visionary as far as incubation is concerned, and I'm very proud to be part of his organization, that is Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. Awarded, which has received several awards, and I think the Oxford University or Oxford group of institutions can get a lot of help from there. They also have a lot of equipment which are very important for bioinnovation, apart from specialist in management, as well as Dr. JK himself is a specialist in management, and IP and patents, etc. There was a day here, or there were days when people used to think that business is something bad. But I think of late, people have realized that without business, there'll be no jobs, and without jobs, there'll be no salaries. And the years of seeking only the government jobs has gone, and entrepreneurship has caught up, and entrepreneurship has been rewarded as well. Well, Karnataka is one of the probably one of the frontline states where even the government is very, very cooperative and proactive as far as helping the entrepreneurship is concerned. You already know that we have a program called Elevate 100, where 100 startups every year are given anywhere between 20 lakhs to 50 lakh rupees for doing work. And similar, there are several programs which this kind of faculty development programs can introduce people to. So people think about entrepreneurship. Now, entrepreneurship doesn't mean that you have to start your own company. There are social entrepreneurs, and so even if you are a CEO of another mega company and starting a new division there, and you are starting a department there, doing innovation, even that's entrepreneurship, though you may not be the direct owner of that particular business. So I would say even consulting another startup and mentoring it also requires entrepreneurship skills, and that's also entrepreneurship. So it doesn't mean that just you participate in this, these kind of programs, you have to be an entrepreneur or you have to have a startup. You can be part of a startup because you may have your core competence, and when you impart that core competence, that also becomes part of entrepreneurship, not strictly your own startup. So these kind of programs will help in those lines as well. And more than anything, I think it's also important for lecturers and faculty to mentor students into entrepreneurship rather than just being employees of any other company. And these kind of programs may help even giving a glimpse to the students what entrepreneurship is all about, and what do you mean by IP, how to protect your IP, and how does the government and other agencies involve getting IP. So altogether, I congratulate the organizers, including this institution, for creating such a wonderful environment wherein I see more than 50 people participating as of now, and I think many more will enjoy. There are a series of lectures. Good luck to everybody, and I'm sure all of you are going to get something or the other. All of us, in fact, I will also be listening to some of the lectures because specialists are specialists, so we always have to listen to them. So I will congratulate the institution and wish them good luck. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your wonderful words, and hope we would like to receive more information during your session. Thank you, sir. So now I request Dr. Jitendra Kumar, sir, to take over the session.
Thanks. Thanks for giving me an opportunity to give a technical session as well. I would request Dr. Rita Shri, who is a consultant agri food and nutrition, to load my slide. Rita Shri, are you there?
Yes, sir. I'm sharing, sir.
Yeah. If you can share me the slides, then I can. How much time I have, ma'am?
45 minutes.
Okay, sure. So I'll plan accordingly. Okay. I would like to give a talk on creating an innovative ecosystem in life sciences. It looks like a very broad and general topic, but let me tell you that I would give a glimpse of Bangalore Bioinnovation Center as a microcosmic study. Microcosmic means it is a microcosm where all the ingredients of innovative ecosystem is there, and you can apply it to any other ecosystem, and therefore the study becomes inductive. So microcosmic and inductive, and therefore the topic looks like a broad one, but you will have a glimpse of what are the components of innovative ecosystem in life sciences. I have purposefully not use the word biotechnology because with time now it looks like biotechnology and life sciences are becoming closer and closer. Earlier, biotechnology meant mostly the genetic engineering aspects of life sciences, but now I see the Department of Biotechnology, the Biotechnology Industry Research Assistance Council at central level, central government has made this term biotechnology so broad that it looks like it's life sciences. So let there not be any confusion. When I say biotechnology, actually I mean life sciences, and when I say life sciences, I actually mean biotechnology. Next slide, please. Yeah. Because this is a faculty development program, I would like to draw your attention to two terms. One is basic research and the other is translational research, or you can say invention versus innovation. What is invention and what is innovation? What is basic research? What is translational research? The basic idea of invention is that what you have invented in the research labs, okay, which has led to a new knowledge. The innovation means when you have thought about or applied this new knowledge to solve some critical societal needs or problems in any area, healthcare, agriculture, anything. When you apply this invention to commercial needs, when I say commercial doesn't necessarily means that making money. I meant commercialization means making it, taking this knowledge or what you have created in the lab to the market, to the place where there is a pain point. There's a pain point in the, suppose for example, talk about healthcare. We have two distinct divisions within healthcare. One is pharma, biopharma, and the other is medical devices and diagnostics, isn't it? When you go to hospitals, you either doctor uses some medical devices to say, for example, thermometer or anything. Now people don't use thermometer, but I'm just saying any device, say pulse oximeter or anything, to test your vitals. And the second division is that you gulp some pills, isn't it? Doctor suggests or prescribes some medicines. So pharma, biopharma, and the other is medical devices, diagnosis. So healthcare is the broad area. Now, if you go to hospital, you see a pain point. Pain point could be anything. Suppose, for example, I'll tell my example. When I go to hospital, the first thing I observe is the emergencies are not very well equipped in many hospitals, meaning that when a patient in the critical injury comes and he's taken by the ambulance to the hospital emergency, there is a significant time lapse between when he arrives here, when he or she arrives at the hospital emergency, and the time he or she goes into the treatment. There is a critical time gap, and that critical time gap could be life-saving and life-threatening, death conditions. Is it possible? Say some innovator can think about: is it possible that there could be we can develop a wound, a device or a method through which blood flow can be, or blood loss can be controlled, or it can be stopped, okay, before doctor intervenes. So the innovator could be inventor himself, or innovator could be a person who thinks that there may be a research which has been done how to stop blood loss, or how to clot it, how to stop the blood loss. And he or she can go to different, invention, discoveries, patents, etc., and think that, okay, let me solve this problem. Let me build a team around it. Let me take a license. If he or she is not an inventor, let this technology or license be licensed to me. Even if he or she is an inventor and he's working for some institutions like Oxford College of Engineering, They may have to license out the technology, and then the technology which can stop the blood loss. I mean, I gave one example, but there could be several such points where this innovation can come pitch in, and they can save the lives. And the same is agriculture, food and nutrition, environmental biotechnology, industrial biotechnology, any area, anything, climate. So that is called innovation. Innovation means translation of that research that has happened in the laboratory. The basic research is driven by curiosity and questions only, while the translational research is developing useful products or services. The basic research is motivated by expanding and acquiring the knowledge, which you all do as a faculty. You all do this, isn't it? But when it becomes translational research or innovation, it means solving practical problems. Questions that are answered through basic research are how things work, why things work. We are asking about the general, curiosity driven, how this is happening. While in translational research, it is what intervention can be developed using existing knowledge. Okay, next slide, please. What are the initial criteria for technology or product concepts? Okay. First of all, how do you evaluate your idea actually? Okay, so first of all, you have to have a great knowledge about underlying science. What is it? That is science and tech. So there should be a very sound basis of your innovation. Otherwise, innovation will not happen. It has to have, based on a very, very strong science, unquestionable, established science. The market potential. The next is market potential, product market potential. Does it have a potential in the market? See, later in the slides, I will tell you that there are different types of innovations. One is called efficiency innovations, which increases the efficiency of the existing product. The other is just an incremental innovation, which is focused on certain product and just we are trying to give a different alternative. Customers remain same. Okay. There are other innovations which are disruptive in nature. These are market creating innovations where you don't have the market. So you can say that there is no product market potential. No, but it's not like that. Market may not exist, but market creating innovations actually create market. I'll go through that different slide where I say that, where I propose that the market creating innovations can create market in altogether different sections of the society, not the current customers. Next is people factor, means that there must be good team to execute it and all that. Okay, so these are some very, very important criteria for technology or product concepts for evaluating it. Next slide. What are the various sectors and subcategories within the biotechnology, within the life sciences area, which you can take up, just for a clarity, because it's a faculty development program. I thought let this be very, very clear. What are the different areas where people can work, etc. So first is therapeutics, could be small molecules, peptides and oligonucleotides. Second is biologicals and vaccines. It could be oligonucleotides and antisense, proteins, monoclonal antibodies, stem cells. Diagnostics could be one, where it could be in vitro diagnostics, molecular diagnostics, companion diagnostics, clinical laboratory services, CLIA, laboratory, etc. Next slide, yeah. Medical devices could be another combination device, therapeutic product, research tools and reagents, sequencers, microarrays, digital healthcare and healthcare delivery IT, bioagriculture, biofuels, industrial biotechnology. So these are 11 distinct categories of sectors which can be used for where this product or technologies can lie. This is just for a mental framework, nothing else. Next. See, technologies can produce different products, isn't it? Therapeutic products, diagnostic products, research instruments and tools. So when I say technology sector, meaning that there is a technology platform. For example, genomics, proteomics. These genomics to proteomics are technology sector, technology platforms. But the same technology can be used for developing products. Say genomics can be used to develop therapeutic products, isn't it? Proteomics can be used for developing theoretical products. I'm sure Dr. Damle will tell more about it, how he is using this genomics, proteomics technologies to develop products. Diagnostic products, other category. So for example, take the example of COVID diagnostics. So definitely it has used the genomics also to design primers and all that. Then research instruments and tools and products also, say for example, genomics technology. So microarray, different machines are tools, etc. can be developed, is being developed. Say Illumina platform for that. So this is a machine and technology machine which has used this technology platform to develop that product. So I've just said these three, but there could be various combinations. From this slide, I just wanted to make you clear that there are technology platforms and these product platforms and how they both are interrelated. Next. How much time frame? So this is a very relevant question as to how much time does it take for biotechnology product to come to the market. This is so relevant that people it's just a very deep valley of death. It's a barrier to barrier, barrier to entry in this market, because it takes huge amount of time. The incubation, the proof of concept to commercialization and all regulatory framework, clinical trials, it takes huge amount of time. I'm sure that there are many speakers from Bangalore Bioinnovation Center who would talk about their product development. Dr. Damle is there, but I'm sure other 4 or 5 speakers are lined up from Bangalore Bioinnovation Center who will talk about what it takes, time-wise. Temporal pain is huge. Therapeutics, for example, it takes 12 to 15 years. Biologicals and vaccines takes 12 to 15 years. Corona may be an exception. The reason could be various. Why corona vaccine only took 1 year? See, this is the first phase vaccine. First of all, I like to say, and we can talk more about why it took why I'm saying 12 to 15 years for vaccines, and how can corona vaccine just came up within 1 year. We'll discuss about it, but generally speaking, to develop de novo or new vaccine or biologicals, it takes 12 to 15 years. Diagnostics is 3 to 7 years. Medical devices 3 to 5 years. Combination or device therapeutic products 5 to 10 years. Research tools and instruments 3 to 7 years. Digital healthcare and healthcare delivery ITs 1 to 3 years. Bioagriculture is 7 to 16 years. Biofuels is 5 to 10 years. Industrial biotechnology is 2 to 4 years. We can see here is that only industrial biotechnology, digital healthcare and healthcare delivery, and maybe diagnostics, medical devices takes 2 to 3 years. Others in the area of biotechnologies takes huge amount of time. So when we say biotechnology entrepreneurship, it is not uniform. Lot of different sectors are there. Next slide. What are the value enhancing milestones for therapeutics and biologics? Okay, so first is completion of basic and translational research. So what is value enhancing? What is the value chain? Value chain is something, or in each step of the product development, some value is added, isn't it? So for example, when you did research, well, take the example of first you had an idea, isn't it? You thought about something that, okay, this could work, and then you implemented it to a laboratory, proof of concept. So you have added value to your idea by proving it through a proof of concept, isn't it? So that's called, and then after proof of concept, you have to go to a pilot scale to you have to go to a clinical trials, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, etc. and all that. So at each step you are adding value to the existing. Can you please mute the others so that there is no.
Sir, it's done, sir.
Okay, thank you. If, of course, if people have questions, they can ask. Definitely, I'm open to that. So in each step, the value is added. That's called, and that whole chain of from the idea to commercialization, this chain is called value chain, where at each milestone the value is added. When the value is added, actually you can exit at that point. When I said exit means you can sell your companies or you can idea and you can monetize it. But as you go ahead in the value chain, the valuation increases and therefore you can monetize it better. But depending upon your experience and expertise, you can only limit yourself to certain stage and not go all throughout the commercialization. There are many examples of scientists who have just done proof of concept and prototype and then they have sold off their company. There are scientists who have sold off their patents. That's it. They are also entrepreneurs, but they are entrepreneurs at the low level of value chain. But they are also entrepreneurs, depending upon their expertise and experience and willingness, etc. So, for example, therapeutics in biology, completion of basic and translational research, the first step. Second is completion of development and in vitro testing. Then the third is completion of lead process optimization. Then fourth is completion of preclinical testing in animals, filing of new drug applications, regulatory review and product approval, scale up and manufacturing, marketing and growth. Okay. Next slide. If you talk about value enhancing milestones for medical devices and diagnostics, we can say that completion of basic and translational research, completion of proof of concept phase, completion of prototype development, filing of 510K or a PMA with FDA. These are actually based in US because I took the reference from some US research, but I think Dr. Damble and other innovators will tell more about this. But there is an Indian component to it also. The completion of regulatory review and product approval, scale up and manufacturing, and then marketing and growth. Next slide. See, I said about milestones, isn't it, and value chain. So, and I told if you see the vertical the graph in the vertical or subordinate, you see value is increasing, and horizontally you see time. So milestone, as you reach different milestones, your value keeps on increasing and the risk also gets decreased. The most risky is the first step, isn't it? After that the risk goes down, and you see that milestone 3 and if you see the risk is lowered also. That time you see a lot of ability of this innovator to attract the investment capital, isn't it? Before that, it's very risky. So people are not able to invest there. Investments, I'm talking about venture funding. But at the same time, we'll talk about more in the few next slides, but the risk stage, a lot of government grants are available. Biotech Ignition Grant, our Karnataka government's Elevate Grant, and a lot of other schemes are there which can help you. It's a grant. You don't have to return the money. It's not equity. It's not debt. That's a huge, advantage to cover up this cost of, risk cost, milestone 1, milestones T, etc. And it's not only milestone 1, milestone 2, milestone 3. It could be different milestones for your own project. You can define yourself, isn't it? Next slide, please. Now let us talk about what are the essential elements necessary to growing biotechnology cluster. Very important, because this biotechnology startup cannot happen in isolation. It cannot happen in if there is no support system. What is the support system? These are essential elements necessary to grow biotechnology cluster. If you are within a cluster of biotechnology, I think the chances of success grows or enhances. So the first essential element to growing biotechnology cluster is abundance of high quality, adequately funded academic research. When we talk about a region, for example, Bangalore region or Karnataka region, or let us talk about Bangalore region, we see that there's a huge abundance of high quality, adequately funded academic research, isn't it? There are institutions like ISC, NCBS, INSTEM, IABAB, Center for Human Genetics, University of Agriculture Sciences, JNCSR, huge number of educational institutions, IAHR, isn't it? You name it, and there. I'm talking only about biotechnology. If you talk about other fields, also you can see a lot of academic institutions. Of course, ISC is a general, and JNCSR, but huge amount of biotechnology research is going on in these institutions. They are highly funded. The quality is very good. Then the second one is ready resource of seasoned and experienced biotechnology entrepreneurs. If there are no entrepreneurs, the cluster cannot grow. We are blessed in Bangalore that the huge number of entrepreneurs are ready to take up the challenge. It is interdependent because there is an ecosystem. They are ready to take challenge. But at the same time, if there are no entrepreneurs, the cluster cannot grow. Okay. The next is ready access to sources at risk, early and development stage capital willing to fund startups. See, the biotechnology startup cannot succeed only on the basis of grants. Grants can give you a breathing space or some kind of initial fillip to the entrepreneurial journey. It can reduce the entry barrier. You can hire people through these grants and start. But ultimately, at one stage, you have to get a risk capital. What is risk capital? Risk capital is venture funding, where huge amounts of capital is attracted, and then you give up some equity, and then you take this to the commercialization, etc. Scale up. This is very important. Otherwise, this business will not grow. Okay. I'm not necessarily saying that each and every business has to be venture funded. All I'm saying is that the capital availability of capital is important. Whether the venture fund companies provide you the capital, or even the customers can actually fund you in a way. Okay. So I personally feel that customer funded ventures are highly successful and their valuation are realistic rather than venture capital funded company. Not all startups do not need, or all ventures do not need a venture capital assistance. The fourth one is adequate supply of technically skilled workforce experience in biotech sector. You need staff, isn't it, who are adequately technically, even if you are an entrepreneur, you need people, you need a team. So how will you get a team? Like Bangalore is a magnet for attracting these skilled workforce across the country, across the globe. So you can get these people, you can get this workforce. Next is availability of dedicated vet laboratory and specialized facilities at affordable rates. Now I'm talking about incubation centers. See, biotechnology is a huge investment game. If you want to create a biotechnology entrepreneurship, you must have laboratories to do proof of concept studies. You must have high-end equipment. How will you get it? The entry barrier is so high that you cannot set up these facilities. Very difficult. So incubation centers like Bangalore Bioinnovation Center has provided the vet laboratories or dedicated specialized facilities and at equipment, etc. at a very affordable rate. Okay, so these 5 components are very, very important to grow, these biotech clusters. Next slide. I was talking about innovations, isn't it? There I briefly explained what is the sustaining innovations, efficiency innovations, and disruptive innovations or market creating innovations, isn't it? Let us talk about this. This concept is very important. Therefore, I have taken these slides and wanted to explain to you that you should have a clear understanding of what market you are actually addressing. In general, the businesses try to protect their market. Okay, meaning that, for example, take the example of say tea bags. Tea. So if you want to do some innovation in say beverage market tea, normally people will just add some new flavors or something etc. and give it to market saying that okay. But the fact of the matter is customer segment will remain same. Either it is market A or market B or market C. When I say market A, meaning that only few can afford that. Suppose take the example of cars, for example, cars or stem cell, therapy or brain surgery, which requires huge amount of money. Okay. Now only market A, a few people can afford. They are wealthy people. People who are at the lower end do not even dream to get those facilities or things. The classic example is the Ford cars. United States were a very poor country in 1900s, initial part of 1900, say 1910, 1920, 30, etc. After that, growth picked up. But during this time, 1900, it was a very, very inefficient and poor country, struck with poverty and corruption. Many would not believe so, but actually it is recorded. It's a record. But somehow the country became highly innovative and they launched some very, very innovative products, and then they became the market leader. What I'm trying to say is that innovation is not only for your business, but also for the national growth. Nations who were very poor in early 1900, like USA, nations who were poor in 1970s, like South Korea, and Japan, which was devastated in Second World War, but they became superpower in 1970s, 60s, 70s, within 10, 20 years. How this was possible? I think this was possible only because of the innovations they did, product innovations. For example, if you take example of Japan, Sony was a electronic company which was as an entrepreneurship, it grew in Japan, and the focus was that people are not able to hear music when they're walking, so they came up with Walkman. I don't know how many people of you are even remember Walkman, but it was a huge hit. It was a huge hit actually, and it was such a craze that it was exported all across the world. Sony became a phenomenon, and it earned huge revenue for Japan. I'm just taking one example, but there were some more companies which came up in Japan. So Toyota, for example, much after the Ford innovated Ford Motors, but much after that, Toyota thought that Ford is too bulky. It is very difficult to import from US. It is very costly. And then they developed Toyota, which was like very handy and affordable, and it was a hit again. Let us take example of US when it was very poor. They had poor and corrupt country. So suddenly 4, 5, 6 innovations you can take. One is sewing machine, the other is Ford Motors. So Ford, what he did was he thought that why car is unaffordable. At that time, cars were like for only aristocratic people, old design cars and all that. The innovation involved in what Ford did was there was no science and technology development. I mean, there's no basic research that he was mentioning about. He was talking about. he was talking about applying this whatever available knowledge to create a affordable car, and he did it. When the cars became affordable, can you imagine what it did? All the people wanted to, have this car. They demanded government to build the flyovers or, highways. When the highways came, petrol bunkers came, all the markets grew, schools grew. So one thing led to the other. Somehow I feel innovation is a panacea for the country. Any country which is innovating at various stages is actually leading, and it's increasing the quality of life. Nobody wants to be corrupt. Why our nation, we think that a lot of people are corrupt. The bureaucracy is corrupt. We keep on. This is happening because we have and even poverty. People basically want to live clean life, isn't it? People want to live clean life. They don't want to indulge in all this normally. But what happens if the things become affordable? What happens if the housing becomes so affordable? Right now, if you want to build a flat, you have to have 1 crore in Bangalore minimum. How many people have 1 crore? Government job or government servant, they cannot. Housing sector demands a huge innovation. Life sciences can play a big role in creating those innovations. I have come across some innovations where the bricks are being made up of organic matter, this and that and all that. A lot of innovations are happening. The point I'm trying to make is that innovation is a panacea. Innovation is a light which sheds all the darkness, which removes all the darkness in the lives of not only people and even nations also. So normally companies who are there in the market, they focus on their single product which is having the market, and that's why they are not able to innovate. They are just doing innovation with it to cater to that market, that market segment which can afford that product, isn't it? But if you go to the other end of innovation, which is market creating innovations, the market creating innovations caters to they can make the product so much simplistic and affordable that to even the other market segments can also buy those products. So the market creating innovations are the innovations which can lead you to prosperity as well as to the national prosperity. But I'm not saying that sustaining innovations and efficiency innovations are not important. They are also important, but market creating innovations are very, very important for our country. Next. This is the example of a market creating innovation where you can see that these innovations cater to the needs of all the markets. Yeah, there are various examples of such market creating innovation. Take the example of pregnancy detection kit or sugar detection, that blood glucose level detection. Earlier, when there was you cannot imagine also that people used to go from tier 2 cities from villages to the hospitals where they can give the blood for pregnancy detection or blood glucose, and that they'll take 1 day or 2 day. How difficult it would be for a people who are living far off from those places. It's a huge burden, economic burden as well as resource burden for them. You cannot imagine. Now think about that. You have blood glucose level detection kits are available where anybody, even illiterate person, can check his blood glucose level. Pregnancy detection, today's Women's Day, International Women's Day. We must celebrate the fact that the innovations can help women's life, in a huge way. So pregnancy detection kit. Now women can find whether they are pregnant or not within 5 minutes, isn't it? The kits are available. These are very, very important innovations which can create this is a market creating innovation. Next. So this is nothing but just one small representation of how a product creates jobs, research and development, distribution and logistics, sales and market. So market creating innovations, not only how does it bring prosperity, it creates new jobs. Research and development is one, distribution, logistics, sales and marketing. So these are local jobs, general administration, after sales services, and then global jobs are also created. Low wage manufacturing, assemblies, supplies, raw materials, etc. Next. See, I have given few, I have put some few exemplary startups from BBC, but I would request Ritashi to go to my next PPT. I will take few minutes of your time just to explain what I said, microcosmic study and inductive study. I talked about innovation. Let us say how Bangalore Bioinnovation Center is acting as a microcosm innovation cluster. Okay. Dr. Hitashi, you can load my next slide, which is Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. Yeah. Bangalore Bioinnovation Center is a pioneering innovation center which has been set up by Government of India through Department of Biotechnology and Government of Karnataka through Department of Electronics, ITBT and ITBT and SNT. So this is a joint initiative created to set up a world-class center to showcase the strength of our innovations to the globally to the world, and to that extent, BBC has made its mark. It has its own share of success. A lot of high potential, highly successful entrepreneurs like Atrimed, Dr. Rishikesh Damle. There are some other companies also who have made it big. So this is an example. This is a phenomenon. Bangalore Bioinnovation Center is nothing but a phenomenon in India, which has given this nurturing support to the startups in a phenomenal way. Okay, next slide. I was talking about the cluster, isn't it? So let us talk about Biotech Park in Bangalore, where Bangalore Bioinnovation Center is located. There are academic institutions like Institute of Bioinformatics and Applied Biotechnology, Center for Human Genetics. These are institutional support area which provides manpower. I was talking about manpower, isn't it? So manpower is supplied by these academic institutions. The IPs generated at these institutions or other academic institutions like IBAB and CSG. It's just that IBAB and CSG are located in this biotech park, but we have links with ISC, JNCSR and other institutions also, which generate IPs, intellectual property rights, isn't it? Then next is the industrial area for future support. We have a huge land where the big companies would come, and we have already hired an international player, which is Alexandria, but now I think it's called LabZone Biotech Park, LabZone, which is developing this area for attracting bigger companies. And of course, in between this is Bangalore Bioinnovation Center, which is 10 acres of land. The other is 20 acres. Academic institution is 20 acres, and Bangalore Bioinnovation Center is 10 acres, and industrial support area is around 50 acres. So around 80 acres, 56 acres of the industrial area. So 86 acres of land is earmarked for this cluster development activities. Okay, let us talk about Bangalore Bioinnovation Center. So it is a 10 acres of land, but 60,000 square feet built up area has been built for innovation, for nurturing the startups. Key functions are to give infrastructure, branding, networking, mentorship support to the startup companies. And the key areas in which we work is healthcare, which is medical device and diagnostics, and pharma, biopharma, food and nutrition, agricultural biotechnology, environmental biotechnology, and industrial biotechnology. Next slide. Next slide. When we talk about infrastructure, we have incubation suites, large incubation suites, and the small incubation suites. We have bench spaces, we have meeting rooms, conference rooms, training rooms. So it's a plug and play facility. When any innovator can come here and they can start their operations from the day one. Next slide. When we talk about central instrumentation facility, we have cell culture facility. I remember Dr. Damle in his talk, referred to this facility, and he He told that any Oxford institution, student, faculty, etc., they can use this. I support his views. I thank that he made this point. Definitely, it is you can come and use this facility. It's a national facility, and it's a high-end facility, compliant to all the environmental all the compliances and all has been done. Next, molecular biology labs. Next. Proteomics and small scale analysis lab. Next. Microbiology lab. So I'm not talking in the detail of each facility. Why? Because it will take huge amount of time, and the time may be a short for this lecture. But I request all of you to come and visit this facility. In all the participants of faculty development program, they can come here and visit this facility. Flow cytometry and cell sorting facility. Next. Histology laboratory. Next. Fermentation facility. Next. Other supporting facility means is 24 hours electricity and supported DG supported this thing, and we have ETP STP plant, and all the environmental clearance has been taken from Pollution Control Board, and we have in-house liquid nitrogen generation plant which gives 60 liters per day. So we supply liquid nitrogen to all of our nearby companies, nearby institutions. Next. We have intellectual property cell, which is headed by Dr. Mary. We do prior art, patentability, freedom to operate, patent landscaping, patent validity, infringement analysis. We have facilitation for IP selling, IP filing and prosecution. We have IP firms which are impaneled. I would like to say that our IP cell has been granted the status of a state level nodal body to help IP and technology transfer. Next is Environmental Health and Safety Division. We have lot of environmental clearances that are being taken, like say Institutional Biosafety Committee. We have GLP, GMP facility, etc. So those they require this thing, and we have a centralized such environmental clearance cell. Then agriculture, food and nutrition. You will be happy to know that we have been given some 50 crores of grant from Rashtriya Krishi Vikas Yojana and NABARD to create a new farm innovation center, agri innovation center. I think it's a unique one in India. A separate building is going to come. Next. For creating innovation ecosystem, we have forged global linkages: China, Korea, Australia, etc. Next. Creating, we have signed agreement with JETRO, which is Japanese Trading Organization. So they facilitate a lot of, they actually have selected a lot of startups for venture funding also. Next. National linkages, we have a lot of national linkages. The BIREC is definitely our very close partner at national level. We have NASCOM and Indian Council for Food and Agriculture, etc. Next. We have signed MOUs with huge number of institutions. Next, I'll gloss through these videos because I think it may not. I just wanted to tell about Bangalore Bioinnovation Center, how it is creating an innovation ecosystem as a microcosmic study, and then inductive you can apply to other institutions also. That is the reason I am talking about this. We have launched a lot of products, in COVID times. We have launched 26 such products. Can you imagine? No single institution has been able to launch so many products. It was all in media. Dr. Damle himself has launched 2-3 products in COVID related. I think he'll talk more about in his lecture. Next. We have industrial visits from a lot of institutions: PES, RV College, GKBK, BIT, Oxford College of Engineering and all. We have signed MOUs with so many institutions. The point I'm trying to make is that we want to create a very robust regional innovation ecosystem. And in the education institutions like Oxford College are a key component to that. And definitely we would like to, see that lot of entrepreneurs are generated, or the entrepreneurship spirit is sparked through these programs. Next. We have lot of awards and recognition. We were the best incubator in the country, and that was the award was given by BioSpectrum. Top Innovation Enabler Award from Raintree, then Ecosystem Builder Award from Government of Karnataka. Next. COVID-19, we had lot of startups who we have given the support system, who have promised to develop products. For example, NeoDx, the number 3 RT-PCR detection kit for COVID, they're already in the market. Okay, next. I will not go through the details of each one, but you are most welcome to know about it from our website, or if you have any queries, definitely you can write to us. Next. Next. Again, we launched many products in May 2020. Next. Second product launched 7th June. Next. You can see Dr. Damle also here. Then 6th August, again we launched third COVID-19 products. Next. Then we have on 9th September, again some products were launched. Next. We have from Rajiv Gandhi University of Health Sciences, we are collaborating to again do some innovation challenge. Next. These are companies which we have funded through our Government of Karnataka Elevate Fund. Next. We are implementing partner for Elevate Fund. These are our current incubators. I'll not go through the details because it runs into 50s, and if we talk about all this, it will take huge amount of time. But all I've tried to say is that we are the largest startup hub in the country right now, biotech startup hub in the country, where a lot of products have been launched, a lot of companies have graduated, and they have made their mark in the nation. Next. 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 I think this is the only incubation center which is 100% occupied right now. We have a BioNest scheme from BIRAC, which is we have set up a MedTech incubator also, which is having a medical devices and diagnostics support services. Next. Next. These are all awards and recognition I've already talked about. We have a seed fund we can give to any individual who have a good idea. Mentorship program is there. Then technology product and development launch platform we have provided to many startup companies. Next. We have globally also we have linked to say Australia, for example, for doing MedTech Got Talent MTGT program. Again, it is we are doing that. So globally also we have got this recognition to support to conduct some global programs. Next. We release some policy papers like Janati, for example, is a regular this thing. We have total number of employment generated so far is 400, and we are implementation partner for Elevate program of Government of Karnataka, Elevate and Idea to POC. I think the time is over, and I would not take much time. Maybe next slide you can go to Ritashi, but I think we are at the end of the program, at the end of the talk. And Sri Ashwat Narayan, who is a director, who is a minister for IT, BT and SNT, Government of Karnataka, has been a strong supporter of Bangalore Bioinnovation Center, and he has remarked that it is one of the pioneer and topmost institution of innovation and development. Next. Dr. Professor Vijay Raghavan, he has been very instrumental in inspiring us, and he says that Bangalore Bioinnovation Center is a leader and is showing the path for bioinnovation in the entire country. Next. our University of Agriculture Sciences have forged links with Bangalore Bioinnovation Center in a big way. And Professor Rajendra Prasad, he says that these facilities are boon to the startups and students who have great concepts. And I'm happy to associate with BBC for all our applied research and activities related to agriculture. We are setting up Agri Innovation Center also jointly with University of Agriculture Sciences. Next. Next. I think this is the end. I think I have given a brief overview of how to create an innovation ecosystem, and then I have given example of Bangalore Bioinnovation Center, how this microcosm of Bangalore Bioinnovation Center could be acting as a role model for the entire country. It can be replicated. With this, I thank you all for patient listening, and I invite any questions you have, and I'll be available offline also, and you can ask me any questions.
Thank you, sir, for the wonderful and very detailed information about the entrepreneurial opportunities and the facilities available in BBC. And we have a question from one of the participants, sir.
Oh, please.
How do we approach BBC for funds and mentorship?
Write a mail to us. Your mail will be definitely attended to. You can write a mail. Rita Shri can give you all the contacts whom to write, but you definitely write director@bioinnovationcenter.com. You can visit our website. My phone number you can write down 9686695956. Rita Shri can give you. So we are very accessible. We don't act like a usual government agencies. Dr. Damle can vouch for it. We are very keen to build this ecosystem. Next.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for the wonderful information. Sir, you may now kindly log off Jitendra, sir.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. I would look forward to future interactions with you all. Thank you.
Definitely, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation and delivering the lecture. We will be communicating you for further things.
Participants, please join us back at 12 o'clock in the session link which has been shared. Thank you. So now we are officially ending this session. Please join us in the session 2 link provided to you at 12 o'clock.